Mixing on headphones is now considered normal by many producers, but it comes with its own problems. In this video, I'm looking at Sonarworks software and how it can help with solving some of those issues. Hi, it's Mike from Casefile and Casefile Presents. On this channel, I'm releasing videos on podcasting and audio production, so if you enjoy this kind of content, you subscribe and notification buttons. Sonarworks got different versions of their software, but I wanted to start with the headphone version because, let's be honest, most podcasters and podcast producers work mainly on headphones. Now, for the last 5 years, I've been using headphones for most of my work. I have two pairs that I use for editing and mixing. One is Sony MDR7506, that's them, and I use them for editing. And the other ones are AKG K712 Pro. I use them for mixing the shows. I understand that mixing and working mainly on headphones, it has its issues. First of all, they vary from model to model, and they vary from even if you have two of the same sets, and they will vary in frequency responses. Now, there's also things like the environment you're working in, shape of your head, even shape of your ears can make a difference. And how I sort of adjusted and solved these issues was, first of all, I got to know my headphones really, really well. So I know how they sound and what kind of shortcomings they got. And then I've also used metering in my DAW to check the balance, to check the frequencies. So I use stuff like Insight from Isotope and tonal balance. That was a game changer when they came up with that. And then fast forward to last month, which was November 2020, and we moved to a new house. And I was lucky to be able to set up one of the rooms the way I wanted. And I knew I wanted to work on monitors a little bit more and mix on monitors. So I treated this room acoustically, and then I measured it. And in order to measure them, you need to have a special microphone. So you need to get one of these. They're sort of measurement microphones. And when I was doing the research, I discovered Sonarworks, and not only they produce the microphones, but also have software which calibrates your speakers and adjusts the sound to the room, so it's neutral and flat. More than that, they have the headphone version of their software. And because obviously you cannot calibrate, you cannot measure your headphones. So what they do is they adjust them so they sound super flat. In this video, I want to show you the software, how it works, and what it does if you're working mainly on headphones. Story time is now over. Let's have a look at the actual software. Sonarworks comes in two plugins. One's called System-Wide, and the other one is the actual plugin you use in your DAW. First, let's have a look at System-Wide plugin. So it's up there, and we open reference System-Wide. Now, at the moment I'm using educational license. I will talk about it a little bit later. But that's what it looks like. Now, I have the studio version, which means I can both use it on my studio monitors as well as headphones. But we're talking about headphones here. They look the same, so we'll just focus on, functions for the headphone version. So first, you need to add your presets for the headphones you got. I've already added mine, so the ones that I use are AKG K712 Pro and Sony MDR7506. Okay, so how it works, first you need to add your preset. And for headphones, you need your calibration profile, so you have to add headphones. Now let's talk about how it works. So with the studio version, with the measurement software, you get the microphone and you get to measure your room, you get to measure your speakers. Obviously, you cannot do that with headphones. And headphones, they differ from model to model, they differ from set to set of the same model. So what the people from Sonarworks did was they took several headphones from the same model. So they took several of these AKGs and took measurements of them. And as you can see, there are different models here, but we're looking at my K712 Pro. And they looked at all these different profiles and they come up with what's called average. So, sort of a sum of all these they've tested. So the thing is that when I'm using let's switch this on, we'll talk about it in a bit. When I'm using my AKGs, that's the average profile. So that's their frequency response curve that they come up with, that they show. However, this is not personalized to my headphones. So my headphones may be slightly different to that one. That's why it's called average. So it's not perfectly calibrated. There are a couple of options though, if you want to be more in tune with your headphones, if you want your profile to be more calibrated and to be perfect. So how it works is I send them my headphones, my AKGs, they test it, they come up with the personalized calibrated profile, they send it back to me, I load it up in Sonarworks. And that costs 149 euros. So you can do that. And the other option is you can buy a headphone edition with already calibrated headphones. Mono price. I haven't heard about them. They look quite cheap. Or Studio Premium bundle with Sennheiser's HD 650 calibrated by them. So that comes with a profile as well. So we have a few options. I'm using the average. I think if you know your headphones well enough, average is absolutely fine. I don't know if I'll send them, it's extra 150 euros. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that, maybe in the future. But for now, I'm using average and that works really, really well. But let's have a look at, I'm gonna switch that off. Let's have a look at the screen. So you saw the frequency response curves before. I switched them off and now we can have a look at what's hiding there. Before, that's the frequency curve of these headphones, of my AKGs. We have other options here. So we got simulated after. That's what Sonarworks is aiming for. So a flat frequency response. And we also have calibration. So what they actually do. So let's switch off the flat. So we have blue one, which is the average frequency response of these headphones. So as you can see, they are using EQ. They are EQing these frequencies. So if there are a boost in a sort of low mids, they are cutting it. If there is a cut around 1 kilohertz, they're boosting it, and so on. So it's a simple EQ. Okay, the other functions are, of course, the most important is the bypass. Enabled, disabled, Sonarworks. The calibration. Next one is bass boost and tilt. So you can, again, switch that on and off. And you sort of control tilt. And that's for people who want to have a little bit more bass in their headphones and are not comfortable with completely flat frequency curve. I'm not actually using that, so I switched it off. And then we have predefined target curves. So we got B and K, a target curve device for hi-fi speakers, and X curve is for movie theater sound. Again, I'm not using that. And then we have mono. Switch that on and off. You test it in mono, a single signal. I'm not using that on headphones as much. I do use it when I listen on my monitors, but I tend to use mono quite often during mixes, so it's good that I have it here. Then we get latency and the filter. So we have some other filters for the latency and CPU usage. And the other one is dry and wet, and that works as in any other plugin, reverbs or whatever. Remember, that's the calibration. If we slide it to 0, there's no calibration. We're hearing dry, which is the sound of headphones, and then slide it up and we start calibrating. When I first put on my headphones, selected the profile and switched on Sonarworks, I hated it. And it's because I'm so used to these headphones. I use them every day for years, and suddenly they sounded like something completely different. And obviously that's because they're calibrated by their program. It took me a couple of days to get used to them, to get used to the calibration. To be honest, now I wouldn't be able to work without it. But even on Sonarworks website, even on their blog, they say, take it slow. Start with 60, 70, and then make your way up to 100 and full calibration. Because, you need to get used to that sound, that flat sound. And especially with headphones like that, they sound really warm, they sound really nice on their own, and then suddenly you're hit with that flat frequency curve. It can be quite disturbing. And the last thing I want to talk is gain and safe headroom. There is a lot of boosting, 7 dB, even more. Here as well, a huge boost, low end is boosted. We need to lower the gain in order to not distort the audio, the signal, with all these boosts. What the software is doing, which is really clever, is adjusting the gain at the very, very end. And that's called safe headroom. So you cannot move it up. You can move it down, but you cannot move it up. And again, that's because it's boosting quite a lot in several frequencies. We can switch that off and then play. Let's switch that on. You switch it back on. Now, there are a couple things. One is if you're used to mixing on a certain volume, so 79 dB or 82 or 85, and you have it marked on your volume control, on your interface, it will go out a window because Sonarworks applies its own gain reduction. So you have to adjust for that. The good thing is, if you bypass the whole calibration, the gain is still down. So you can hear the bypassed audio at the same volume level, because we know that louder audio sounds better automatically, but this is really good. It lets you hear it with and without at the same volume level. But enough of me talking. Let's actually listen to something. So what I've got here is the last episode of Case File we've released in 2020, which is the Golden State Killer Part 6. Put the headphones on.
Broke into Claude's vehicles. In early September, there were reports of several more ransacker-related incidents on Whitney Lane and nearby streets. Then, at 7 p.m. on the 10th, Beth heard a noise outside her window. She looked out, but it was too dark to see if anyone was there.
Much flatter.
The following night, Beth awoke at 2 a.m. struggling to breathe. A person was lying prone on top of her. She initially thought it was one of her brothers playing a prank, until she saw a pair of angry eyes glaring down at her through a ski mask. He was pressing a gloved hand against her mouth. Beth tried to wriggle out from beneath his heavy weight.
Okay, that's enough. So as you can see, this is pretty incredible. You can hear the calibration straight away. The low mids, the sort of warmth is now gone. They sound completely flat, and you've got to get used to it. Like, really, especially if you're used to working on the same pair of headphones every day for for years. It takes some time to get used to that new sound, but you can hear how much it's changing it, how much it's calibrating it. That's the system wide. It sits at very end of your signal output within your system. So whatever you're listening on headphones, you can always switch that on, listen it flat, listen it with it bypassed, whatever. You can listen it on your music, you can use it on reference tracks. It's really, it is pretty amazing. But let's now jump in Pro Tools into my DAW and look at the plugin. We are now looking at my Pro Tools session for the Golden State Killer Part 6, and we want to use that Sonarworks plugin for, headphones. We want to check it on headphones. So what we do is we need to plug it at the very end of our signal flow. So master track after all of our other plugins. And we got Sonarworks Reference for stereo. And it's very important that it's after everything else, because I'm sure you're aware of how the signal flow works, but master track, that's the last track, everything goes through it. And again, plugins, they work in order as well. So the first, second, third, and we want Sonarworks at the very, very end. Okay. We are using Headphones edition, so again, AKG K712 Pro wired average, the same profile. We're looking at before, and we're looking at the target. We can have a look at accuracy as well, and the correction. There we go. The options are the same. So we got enable, we got the tilt, we got the predefined target curves if anyone wants to use them, mono, dry wet, safe headroom. Again, that works as a gain reduction. As you can see, I've got my Ozone mastering plugin here. And the maximizer, when I switch that on, is set to target -16 LUFS, true peak -1. But because Sonarworks is at the very end of the channel on my signal flow, that's not what I'm gonna be hearing. This is what I'm gonna be hearing. So -8.1. So that's really important to understand that because of the calibration, there is a gain reduction. Still, you should have that switched on to listen how it would sound master. And let's have a quick listen. Let's bypass it for now.
Old police notebooks belonging to Visalia Police Detective Bill McGowan contained scrawlings in which he expressed an intention to look through the yearbooks of the nearest police department in the neighbouring town of Exeter.
No.
He seemed convinced the perpetrator was a member of law enforcement and had isolated the suspect to Exeter PD, where D'Angelo worked. McGowan's notes detailed his intention to go through each yearbook photo and compare the male graduates with his recollections of the Visalia ransacker following the pair's violent confrontation in 1975. He was certain if he saw a photo of the person, he would recognise them. For reasons
This is absolutely crazy. My iMac is actually getting really loud because of playing all that and recording a screen at the same time. I hope you cannot hear it. But anyway, so this is absolutely crazy. It sounds so different. And again, if you bypass, if you switch it on, the gain reduction stays. So you're not suddenly hit with that, mastered super loud audio, especially if you're now on your headphones. So that's really, really good. I like that that they sort of done this gain matching technology as well. There's one more thing. Okay, let's now say I'm happy with the mix, I'm happy with how it sounds, I've got my Sonarworks, it's all good, and I wanna bounce it to disc. Let's just say I wanna bounce this bit. Yeah, let's add MP3, why not? Now remember, I've got Sonarworks still on, which is changing the sound. Bam. Let's cancel it. We are hit with the prompt. Sonarworks Reference plugin was not bypassed when rendering. Please bypass the plugin and render again, because the applied sound correction profile is there to improve your speakers or headphones only. It should never be applied when rendering audio. Learn more about when to bypass the plugin. And you can don't show it this again. And this is what I really love about it, because I'm bouncing. So I'm bouncing the whole signal flow. And Sonarworks is calibrating that signal at the very end. So if I'm bouncing it, the calibration is added to my master, and I don't want that. The calibration is for me just to hear it flat. I don't want my mix to be completely flattened by their technology. And that's why we got that prompt. So what you need to do is to bypass it. Completely bypass the whole thing. Because if you bypass just the correction, I think it will still apply that gain reduction. So it's safer to just, bypass the whole thing, the whole plugin, and then when you bounce, there it is, no prompt. And, it had this box, I'm not ticking that on, because 2 out of 3 times, I forget to bypass it. And it reminds me, I'm like, oh God, I've got to bypass it, I've got to cancel, let's go back. So I really, really love that they included it. That's really clever. Okay, let's now look at the pricing. So we were talking about headphone edition only, and let's talk about educational license. So that's why I'm using today for the purpose of this video. I got it for my brother who's at college. I want to get him into audio production. And what's really good about it is, let me bring it on, the educational discounts. So if you're a student, even part-time, or a teacher, you can get educational discount. And that's like 50% off Sonarworks Reference software. Headphone edition, 49, the one with headphones, 69, then you got studio edition and with a microphone. That's a really good option for anyone who's studying at the moment, who want to learn it. I think you should take advantage of it. You've got to verify, of course, with their team. The software by itself costs 99 euros, and you can get it on some sort of third-party website, a little bit cheaper. So you got £89 here, 85 on DV 24/7, £85 here as well. Again, I'm sure you'll be able to find some kind of deal, some kind of a discount. They also run things like Black Friday, summer discounts, Christmas discounts as well. So I'm sure you'll be able to find a price that is attractive and a little bit cheaper than what's on their store. But if not, it's still worth getting it if you can't find anything else. Would I recommend this software for podcast producers? Absolutely. I'm kicking myself for not discovering it earlier, as my mixes would definitely benefit from working with it. The plugin is cheap enough, especially if you can find some sort of deals, and there is no doubt that it will help you improve and it help you solve some of the issues when you're working mostly on headphones. And let's be honest, podcast producers, podcasters, they mostly work on headphones. And that's why when you listen to like any podcast from top 100, the difference in quality is vast. And hopefully software like Sonarworks will help to improve that and kind of standardize the quality of sound in podcasting space. Selecting the average calibration, it's not ideal. It can be icing on a cake if you want to spend a little bit more money, but if you know your headphones well enough, then I think working with the average is good enough. That's what I'm gonna do for a little bit longer. Maybe I'll calibrate my headphones in the future, I'm not sure. But I can always bypass the plugin and then check the sound, how it sounds with and without it. There's no doubt that podcasting and your mixes will benefit if you've got that Sonarworks within your DAW or working as a system-wide plugin. That's it for today. I'm Mike from Mike Migas Production. If you enjoy this kind of content, you can check out the rest of my channel on my website, mikemigas.com. For now, share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.